You know, it's pretty amazing when you stop and think about it, the incredible physics that's happening inside your eyeball every single second. It's this whole journey of light being bent and focused with just mind-blowing precision. So let's follow a single ray of light and see how it all works.
So here's the big question, right? How does a ray of light from, I don't know, a tree across the street travel into your eye and land perfectly on your retina to create a sharp image? I'll give you a hint. It is not a straight path. It's a journey, and it's all about physics. And this whole journey happens inside this tiny little sphere, just over 2 centimeters wide. I mean, think about that. In that tiny space, a ray of light has to take 2 absolutely crucial turns to hit its target. If either of those bends is even slightly off, the whole world just goes blurry.
Okay, so to really get our heads around how this works, the best place to start is with a pretty simple analogy. Just think of your eye as a super high-tech living camera.
It's got all the same basic parts, right? A camera has a lens to focus light. Your eye has a whole lens system. A camera has a digital sensor to capture the image. Your eye has a light-sensitive screen called the retina. The basic idea is exactly the same. Focus light onto a screen. But the way our eye does it, well, that's where the real magic happens.
So this brings us to the first and honestly, the most important step in the whole process. We can call it the great bend of light. This is where pretty much all the heavy lifting happens. The physical principle that makes this all possible is called refraction. And it's actually pretty simple. It's just the rule that says light bends whenever it moves from one substance, or a medium, into another. You know, like from air into water, or in our case, from the air into your eye. Okay, to make this crystal clear, let's imagine a car. It's just cruising along fast and straight on a nice, smooth, paved road.
But then, it hits a big patch of thick mud at an angle. The moment those front wheels hit the mud, they slow way, way down. And that sudden change in speed causes the whole car to pivot and change direction, right? Well, light does the exact same thing. When it goes from the thin medium of air into the much denser medium of your eye, it slows down and it turns.
So what part of the eye is doing most of this great bend? I mean, the obvious answer seems to be the part that's actually called the lens, right? Makes sense. But nope, that's actually wrong. The surprising hero of this story, the part that does most of that initial powerful bending of light, is the cornea. That's the transparent outer layer at the very, very front of your eye. And hey, don't just take my word for it. Our source material says it directly. Most of the refraction happens right there at the outer surface of the cornea. It handles the bulk of the work. The lens, which we're going to talk about next, is really more of a fine-tuner. So think of the cornea as the part that gets the light most of the way to its target. All right, so if the cornea is doing all the heavy lifting, what's left for the lens to do? Well, it handles the delicate, final adjustments. It's all about fine-tuning the focus for objects at all sorts of different distances. And this incredible ability has a name. It's called accommodation. It's how your eye's lens literally changes its own shake to adjust its focal length. This is what lets you look up at a faraway mountain and then, in an instant, shift your focus to read the words right here on your screen. So how does it pull this off? It's this amazing dynamic system. See, when you look at something far away, these tiny muscles in your eye relax, which pulls on the lens and makes it thinner. But to look at something up close, those same muscles contract, which lets the lens bulge out and become thicker and rounder. This constant change in shape is what's always fine-tuning the focus for you. But you know, this is a really precise journey. So what happens when it goes just a little bit wrong? Well, that's where we get common vision problems. They're really just refractive errors. The light isn't being bent to the right spot. So if you're nearsighted or myopic, what that really means is the light is being bent too much. This usually happens because the eyeball itself is just a little bit too long. So that focus point ends up landing in front of the retina instead of on it. And the result, you can see things up close perfectly fine, but distant objects are just a blur. And far-sightedness? Well, you can probably guess. It's the exact opposite problem. This tends to happen if the eyeball is a little too short. The light just isn't bent enough to focus by the time it reaches the retina. So the focal point lands behind it, making things up close look blurry. In both cases, the light ray is simply missing its target. Okay, so let's put all the pieces together. Let's recap this incredible, high-precision journey that a single ray of light takes in the tiny fraction of a second it takes for you to actually see something. So first, light enters the eye and gets immediately and powerfully bent by the cornea. Second, the lens makes those little fine-tuning adjustments using accommodation. Third, and this is a fun fact, a sharp but totally upside-down image is formed on the retina. And finally, the light-sensitive cells in the retina turn that image into electrical signals, which shoot up the optic nerve to the brain. And it's your brain that does the final magic trick of flipping the image right side up so you can see the world as it is. It's just an amazing collaboration between physics, biology, and neurology.
You know, it really is a powerful reminder. We talk so casually about the things we see every day, but the physics behind that simple act is this silent, basically perfect process. It's an incredible partnership of physics and biology that literally shapes our reality every single moment we have our eyes open.